So the question was, hello, my daughter is 5, moderately affected by her autism and verbal. I had her end of the year meeting with her teacher pre-K who explained to me that she isn't struggling socially and there is only one child who will play with her. Apparently the kids say, we don't want to be her friend. And this has affected her anxiety tremendously. And she has been chewing holes in her shirts, the ends of her hair off, etc. I asked the teacher at the beginning of the year to monitor her social interactions as best she could and to let me know how she was. Up to this point, I have been told she's been doing well, when in fact, she has not. The school claims she's ineligible for an IEP because she doesn't need speech, according to them. I'm now scared to send her to kindergarten when the school keeps fighting me to help monitor her socially. Is it better to keep her in public school with bad social interactions or homeschool with little peer interaction until she's older? So some of that is more clinical in nature, but this whole thing about, I've heard this many times, more and more families are saying my child has a diagnosis from a third party of autism, and the school is telling me they don't need an IEP because, and then it's fill in the blank. But a lot of times it's, well, they don't need speech, so they don't need anything at all. Is that legal, Bonnie?
Did she say, Shannon, that her child is in first grade?
So she said that this last year they were in pre-K, but right now she's supposed to be starting kindergarten.
Well, I feel as if the social problems that she's having could be tremendously minimized if she had a skilled behavior therapist. One of the beautiful things that CARD did when Nick was going to school was CARD's therapists were so fun and so loving and so creative that people did want to play with Nick because they wanted to play with CARD therapists. So that, to me, points to the need for some kind of social support, social skills support that she's not getting. Now, in terms of having a medical diagnosis and going to school with it and what they're supposed to do, if you bring them a medical diagnosis, they're supposed to assess. It's pretty low threshold for assessment. If the child is suspected of having a disability that would qualify them for IDEA services, they are supposed to assess, and there's a systemic-wide problem, and I see it a lot in the South Bay, and yes, that's a shout-out to you South Bay districts in Southern California. They try to get out of assessments because assessments lead to IEPs, and IEPs lead to accountability and services. Where is it written that the only way you qualify for IDEA services is with speech therapy? There could be many other reasons you would qualify, and we've gone through those, but autistic-like features in California is enough to get you an IEP as long as your autism has an educational impact. And clearly, she's got anxiety from the lack of appropriate social support in school, and she's actually starting to self-harm because of it, from, if I'm remembering the question right, she's pulling out her hair and things. That's an educational impact. So that's just wrong, 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 wrong. And what I like to tell people to do in these situations is to say to the district, I've consulted with a lawyer. I'm told that you have a duty to assess and that my child likely needs social skills, that she's entitled to be educated in the least restrictive environment with the support she needs to be successful, and she's functioning at a level where I think she can be successful. And this lawyer said to me that I better go back to the district and tell them to do a bang-up job at my IEP. Otherwise, she's going to get involved. And I think that'll kickstart it a little bit. What do you think, Shannon?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think these are all amazing ideas, Bonnie. It just, these kinds of things make me, like, I get mad. I love having you because you get into practicalities and about what action to take, because I get a little paralyzed. I get mad.
Well, they're bullying her, and I am offended by that because I sort of like to stick up for the underdog. I think that's what we're supposed to do. And they're bullying her, and I just want to bully them right back. You know, like, knock it off.
Yeah.
Follow the law.
Yeah.
Get it together, you know?
Well, it's
I
that
mean,
thing, Bonnie, I think I just said this to somebody the other day that I always have to remind myself, do I want to be right or do I want to get what my kid needs? Because I'd like to school them.
sometimes they're the same thing,
Yes.
you know?
But
And,
sometimes you
and
gotta like step around something, and I always want to school people and go, hey, here's the
well, I
law.
mean,
Yeah.
we are trying to school people, and I wanted to say to this lady, like, if she's in Southern California, she's got a specific legal problem, and she really does need to sit down and discuss with an attorney what would be the most efficient and effective way to attack this, you know? We'd want to look at the documents. I'm presuming most of this stuff hasn't been in writing. If any of it is, like, wow, if you've got something that says you have a diagnosis of autism, but you don't get an IEP because you don't need speech, like, send me that, please, so that I can, like, make 5,000 copies of it and drop it from the sky onto, like, public school campuses or something with a phone number. I mean, really, that's so blatantly illegal. It's so blatantly unafraid and, you know, like stepping on people for a long time because they think that people are stupid and they're not stupid. And just because you might not have a PhD or a PsyD doesn't mean you don't have good instincts about what your child needs. So knock off the intimidation, people. Like, stop it,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here. Should we move on to the next one, which kind of goes hand in hand with this? The next,
It does.
and Traven, we were having a little bit of a sound issue. Should we pause and get a better sound connection, or you think we're okay, Traven? Let's take a break. Let's take a break, and we're going to come back with Bonnie because we're going to beef the sound up a little bit. So stick with us.
All right.
Hi, Lisa Ackerman back with Talk of Facts. Questions, real life questions and answers for the autism journey. Oh, are you ready for this one? Talk to me about puberty. So what I would recommend is first and foremost is the kids that have done the therapeutics, the medical, and the dietary allergen removal interventions tend to have an easier time at puberty. Seizures are really common for children on the spectrum, more than neurotypical populations, and they're especially most common right at or about puberty time. So it's extremely important, even if you have a 10-year-old, that you've already done an EEG, that you consider before they go through puberty to get a second EEG done. Just because you have one clean EEG with no abnormal brain activity or seizure activity, you need to do another one prior to puberty. That's one of the most common calls we get with teens on the spectrum, is they are often experiencing a seizure for what their family thinks is the first time. And the third thing is you're gonna have a teenager, so you're really gonna have to kick it up a notch on those life skills, social skills, and getting your kid ready to be that teenager they need to be. So if you're doing that baby thing, and I know you are, where you're maybe making their lunches or helping them with laundry, we need to start bouncing some chores over to those kids. And we also need to increase social environments where they can be successful. So think about it. We've got 3 really important things that we need to look at. Puberty is a very serious issue, and we take it very seriously. So make sure you have all of your therapeutics, medical, and dietary interventions in place. Consider to do another 24-hour EEG with your physician prior to puberty. And the third most important thing, get ready to raise the bar. Your job is to really get them ready for life. And I know you can do it.
Welcome back. We are here with Bonnie Yates, and hopefully the sound is a little bit better for you. So we were looking at some questions that you guys had sent in. One of them was, how do we get school to work on the social piece? Is there a way to get it in the IEP?
Well, this does dovetail nicely with the other question. The other question presumes that there's, I guess, no duty on the part of the district to do anything except for provide academics. But we've had other discussions on autism-live about transition to adulthood. And if you look at the IDEA, it considers to be this transition to adulthood and to employment where possible. It considers that to be extremely important. And so if you don't have the social skills to interact with other people spontaneously and successfully, how are you going to get a job interview? How are you going to pass a job interview? How are you going to keep a job? So districts do have a duty to provide social skills training in school. And if you are having problems making friends and keeping friends, sorry, there's a giant airplane flying over, that meets the criteria for an educational impact.
We lost some of your volume. Did you get further away?
Yeah, that was the airplane.
No, but we're still.
If you need social skills support, because the ultimate goal is for you to be independent as an adult and work independently or work in a supported job, that needs to be part of your IEP. And districts define IDEA services narrowly because they don't want to have to provide these kinds of social skills services. There are reasons. They haven't been trained in how to do them would be one. Another is the ABA model is intensive. I'm seeing a lot of districts down here where a kid really needs ABA. They aren't even offering bad district quote-unquote IBI. They're saying that like the school counselor can take care of the social skills in a 20-minute weekly session and the speech therapist can work on pragmatics. that might be fine, but it doesn't make up for the intensity of an ABA program. And I would bet that if you ask them what the research basis is for the interventions they're choosing, they would say, we don't know, because they aren't research-based. And you could ask them to give you prior written notice, which we covered a couple weeks ago. If they won't give you social skills in the manner that you think your child needs them, they have to tell you why not and what information that's based on. They absolutely have a duty to help you with social skills. We're, in lots of situations where a classroom's very structured and a student may look okay when he's just doing academic work, and then you put him out on the playground and he's lost and he isn't interacting with anybody and he doesn't have any friends. That's not a minor piece of information. That presentation has a trajectory. That person's going to have a hard time as they get older. And the older they get, the more anxiety they're going to have, and the harder it's going to be for them to just do the work of learning how to socialize. So you have a right to improve in these areas, and that should be written into your IEP. And I don't remember if that's enough of an answer to the question or if there's other things that the listener
I think
asked.
parents knowing that it can be in the IEP and should be in the IEP and that they have a right to it, I think that's really what they wanted to get at. So I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, I have an 8-year-old who has a diagnosis of autism and ADHD. He is very smart and can do grade level work, but he needs to be in almost constant motion. When he was younger, his teachers had a mini trampoline at the back of the room and he could take breaks on it whenever he needed. He didn't even have to ask. Now that he is 8, the school wants to put him in a special day class. They are saying he is disruptive to the other students. This is what he needs to succeed. I don't want him in a special day class. What can I do?
So he's being excluded from the classroom because he's disruptive, quote unquote. What grade is he in?
Well, he's 8, so what is that? 2nd grade, 3rd grade? I'm not good at the math. Well, I think, third,
it depends
fourth.
on whether our kiddo went to kindergarten at 5 or 6. So he could be 8, he could be 7. So, there's the Rachel Holland case. I think it's Holland versus Sacramento Unified School District. It talks about the presumption of mainstreaming with support to be successful in the classroom. And particularly when kids are younger, the balance is tipped in favor of mainstreaming kids with supports for the social benefits unless they're too disruptive. So maybe we could get some more information from the listener about what the specific kinds of disruptive behaviors are that he's having. In the early grades, the presumption would be that you put in more supports to deal with the disruptive behavior so that he can stay in general ed for all the general ed benefits. And we can talk again about the Rachel Holland case on the air. We talked about it some. But, all your smart listeners should read the Rachel Holland case. I think it'll set them straight in terms of, unless the behaviors are just so pervasive and disruptive and can't be managed and couldn't be managed with a full-time skilled behavioral person in the classroom, for example, then you're not going to be able to move him just because it's inconvenient that you have behaviors you have to deal with. Not for a 2nd or 3rd grader. Maybe for a 7th grader or a 6th grader, but not for a 2nd or 3rd grader. The brain is still plastic, and the law favors that social immersion as articulated in the Holland case.
Okay, so moving on to our last question. I can't wait to your answer for this. Where can I find the actual wording in IDEA that says free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment, ... I want to know the actual wording of what comes next. I find it interesting that the internet is full of interpretations of what it says, but I can't find what it actually says. And when I got this question, I was like, because I can remember looking it up years ago, and I started looking it up, and I couldn't find it, Bonnie.
Yeah, I thought this was a really beautiful question, and sometimes the simplest questions are among the most profound. And so if you write down 20 USC, U.S.C, United States Code 1415, we talked about that the other day on the air when we were talking about the rules regarding private school reimbursement. if you just start at the top of 1415 and you read all the way down, you'll find that faith is discussed in there, and a lot of other interesting things are discussed in there as well. So you can Google this. You don't need a Westlaw subscription. 20 USC 1415.
Okay, so I don't have to
That's my
put
answer.
I don't have to put United States Code in the middle, just 20
No,
USC
just
14.
20 USC 1415. And your individual states will also have their own definition of faith. I believe in California, it's California Education Code 56,000, 56000. But the 1415 is really a good thing for all of us to familiarize ourselves with. And I go back to 1415 all the time because it's loaded full of, chock full of goodies. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there. Check it out.
But Bonnie, is it the actual wording from IDEA or is it a discussion of it?
It is the actual wording that says that the district has a duty to provide a free, appropriate public education.
Wonderful. All right. So unfortunately, that's like our time, and we had other things that you wanted to talk about. But I guess we're gonna have to put a
I always have things I want to talk about. I want to talk to you about making a government claim in California. So we'll pick up with that next week.
Okay. All right. We will hang on to that idea. Bonnie, we appreciate you for being here. I'm going to ask, we're going to go to break, but Bonnie, I need for you to stay on the phone for a minute. You don't have to stay on Skype.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay,
All right, so
thank you.
Are we done? No disclaimer? No.
Oh, we should,
Nada?
no, we should talk about Hirji and Chow really quick. Where can they find you?
If anything that you listened to in the last few minutes suggests that you need more information and you're in Southern California, you can call us. Hirji and Chow, 310-391-0330. If you're somewhere else, we'll try to get you a referral to somebody in California. Otherwise, check it out on copa.net, www.lawyerforchildren.com. Everybody have a great weekend when you get there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to go to break, you guys, but we'll be right back. We've got a really amazing guest, really inspirational young woman, Kelly Byron Johnson's adult diagnosed autistic self-advocate and author, who's also hard of hearing, and she found it completely inclusive. You're not going to want to miss this. Stick with us. Back after.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be creating a popsicle puzzle. As we do this fun activity, you'll notice these icons will pop up. These icons tell you important information about the skills we're using to create the craft and where you can find them on the Skills program. Skills is an ABA-based tool that helps parents create a curriculum that will help their children that are on the autism spectrum. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are popsicle sticks, tape, and arts and crafts materials. So step one, you're going to take your popsicle sticks and lay them down and cover them with tape so they don't move around. Now that my popsicle sticks have been secured with tape, here comes the fun part. You're going to take your arts and crafts materials, they can be paint, markers, whatever you have, and then you're going to decorate this with a beautiful picture. This is the beautiful picture that I made. Now what I'm going to do is remove the tape. And now, as you can see, they come apart. And here is your awesome puzzle. Now, the fun part is trying to assemble the picture that you just made now that it's all been separated. I hope you enjoyed this activity with me. Until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.